All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
All around old Cape Horn, ships of the line, ships of the morn. Some who wish they'd never been born, they are the ghosts of Cape Horn. All around a riddle rum with a rim dim diddy and a rum dum dum. Sailing away at the break of dawn, they are the ghosts of Cape Horn. See them all in sad repair, demons dance everywhere. Southern gales, tattered sails, and none to tell a tale. Come all of you rustic old sea dogs.
And welcome back to hour number 2 of tonight's X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, and throughout the province of Ontario, the northern tier of the state of New York and Pennsylvania, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, situated here in St. Catharines, just down the street from where we are in St. Catharines in the XZBN studios. If you'd like to send me an email, it's xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. And if you'd like to listen to us online, we stream thanks to our good friends at Classic 1220 at classic1220.ca. Exonation, this hour on the X-Zone, we venture into the shadows of South Dakota's mysterious Black Hills with a man who doesn't just believe in the paranormal, he investigates it. Joining us is Maurice Miller, founder of Black Hills Paranormal Investigation. With years of experience uncovering the unexplained, Maurice and his team have explored haunted hotels, restless homesteads, and ghostly landmarks, all in pursuit of truth beyond the veil. Now, whether you're a skeptic or a believer, or somewhere in between, tonight's conversation is guaranteed to raise a few chills. Visit his team's website, work at www.bhparanormal.com. But for now, dim the lights and open your mind. And Maurice Miller, welcome back to the X-Zone.
Well, thanks for having me, Rob. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Maurice. I trust you and your team are doing well?
Yes, as a matter of fact, for the next 3 days, we're super busy. We're going to investigate the stamp mill in Lead tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
And then Friday night, we're doing the Broken Boot Gold Mine and the brothels in Deadwood.
Uh-huh.
And then Saturday night, we're doing the Adams House and Mount Moriah Cemetery.
Well, that is a busy schedule for you and your team.
Yes, and we're doing it with a gal from California. Her name is Marie Mason.
Mm-hmm.
She is a professional ghost hunter.
Super. Maurice, can you tell us how Black Hills Paranormal Investigations got started?
We got started about the same time. I was with a different group. I was with Black Hills Area Paranormal Society, BHAPS, and we both started about 2007. And then, unfortunately, the group I was with, our lead investigator, he did himself in.
Oh.
And then, but we, BHPI and BHAPS, we knew each other, so they, they're saying, "Hey, Mo, come on over here to this one, to BHPI," and I was like, "Absolutely," because we did the exact same thing. So,
and the rest is history, as they say.
Pretty much.
Mo, what was it that first sparked your interest in the paranormal?
The first thing, it's kind of really hard to explain. I was like 12 or 13 because my mother and grandmother were very much into dowsing with pendulums and Ouija boards and things. Mm-hmm. And I really didn't pay attention to it at that age. I was too busy, going out and playing with my buddies and whatnot. But I was like 14 or 15 and I started reading case studies, not R.L. Stein novels, but case studies on the phenomenon. And I kind of figured, once you pull back the layers of the onion, all the claims are basically the same. So I was wondering, is it part of the human condition or is there something else to it?
Now, why Black Hills? Is there something unique or especially active about that region?
Uh, Out here in the Black Hills, there's especially like the Deadwood area because there was the gold rush and its
Hmm.
recent history, basically. And there's kind of a pall over Deadwood, if you will, like a cloud.
Okay.
And a lot of stuff happened here, and a lot of tragedies, a lot of deaths and whatnot. And I think that's what the people, when they call us, I think that's what they're wanting validation for, because like somebody might have died in their house or at their place of business 100 years ago, and they want validation for that because they're hearing things or seeing things and whatnot.
Mo, what is the mission or philosophy behind your team's investigations?
Well, the first thing we're going to try to do is debunk, debunk, debunk. I cannot say that enough because I cannot tell you how many times we've gotten calls and people say, Satan and his loyal minions live in my basement. Okay. And
Okay.
we can't, we don't really take it at face value. We have to do a walkthrough,
Hmm.
and will look very diligently at books they have, and if they have DVDs and whatnot, and we'll make sure that they're not, you know, uh, it's not stuff that they're wanting to see. It's actually things that are actually bothering them. And we have had people before, things that are actually bothering them. They say that, like, for instance, like I hear footsteps or whatever at night
Hmm.
in my attic, and it's gone, and there's been like a squirrel nest, which it explains a lot. So
Now, the area that you live in and the area that you investigate, would you say it's country or rural, or would you say it's uh, a town, a village, a city, or all of
well,
the above?
it's kind of, well, like living here in Rapid City, like I do. We have
Hmm.
like 80,000 people.
That's a nice little town.
Deadwood, Deadwood normally it's and Deadwood's about an hour away. They have normally like about, I'd say like about 5,000 people.
Hmm.
In Lead, which is right next to Deadwood, has about 3,000 people. So I guess they're pretty much towns, and they swell enormously during tourist season.
Now, how did you build your team? Or let me ask you, what expertise does each member of your team bring to it?
That's kind of funny you should ask. I'm going through space on a bullet, for a lack of better terms. But also on the team, we have a professional actor, we have a psychic,
Hmm.
we have a dyed in the wool skeptic, like I used to be, and
Ooh.
we just brought a new person on. His name is Zach Flora, and he's a young guy. He's like 23, and he's got a really good uh, debunking background, basically.
When you say debunking background, what would his expertise lend to your investigations?
Because he comes at things from a debunking standpoint. Just because you hear something or whatnot, it
Hmm.
might be the wind, it might be a squirrel nest or something, or if you see something out of the corner of your eye, you
Gotcha.
know, and it might not be anything. And
Uh,
that's the kind of way, that's why we brought him on, because he looks at all these kind of things.
he's a critical thinker.
Yes.
Gotcha. When you go out to do an investigation, let's say I was to call you up and say, "Hi, Maurice, it's Rob. Something strange, weird is happening inside my house, and I was wondering if you and your team would come down and take a look." What would you do?
Well, first thing I'm going to do is talk to you on the phone. I'm going to try to get to the bottom of what's bothering you. Like, what are
Okay.
you seeing? What are you hearing? Next thing we'll do, we
Hmm.
do a preliminary walkthrough, and
Okay.
that's where we'll walk through, the business or residence, whichever. And the client is there, obviously, and they're pointing to where they're normally, this stuff happens, say, like in the kitchen
Sure.
or the living room, or, in the main room of their business. And then we'll look around and we'll try to debunk right then and there. What are you seeing? Are you hearing anything? While we're there. And then from there, we'll decide with the client whether an investigation is warranted or not.
But how often, when you do your walkthrough and your preliminary on-site investigation before coming to the idea that yes, it requires a full-blown investigation or not, how often does something actually happen while you're there to show you that an investigation would be a great idea because you and other members of your team have experienced something out of the ordinary?
Believe it or not, it happens more so than what you would think. Like, for instance, just a week or so back, we investigated an elderly lady's house, and when we did the initial walkthrough, she was saying, there's somebody running across, her ceiling, upstairs, and
Right.
there is no upstairs, but you could hear. But me and Zach, we were both there. We actually physically heard somebody walking upstairs, and there is no upstairs.
But was there an attic where some animal could have burrowed its way? No way.
We looked for that kind of stuff, and there was nothing.
What was the history of the house?
It's like 100 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty, as far as construction goes, that's pretty recent. But around here, that's really old.
And the house itself, prior to this lady having these experiences, had anyone else experienced anything in the house?
No, I tried to get that from her, and she didn't say either, neither here nor there on that one.
That's a little strange,
Because
isn't it?
that's a question I will ask. And I'll ask also, do they know the history of the location? Not just the house, but the land that they're on too.
Now, would Zach go out and do research on the house to see if it was mentioned in any newspaper clippings, or does he check with the city to see if they've had any complaints about whatever electrical problems in the house or plumbing problems or anything like that?
Yeah, we do. We go to the Register of Deeds,
Okay.
and we'll look up the houses. Like, one of the first, when I first joined Black Hills Paranormal
Mm-hmm.
years and years ago, one of the first places we investigated, we went to the Register of Deeds because this place was off the charts as far as anything paranormal that could happen happened. It was crazy.
All right, Mo, we're going to have to take a little bit of a break here. So we've got a cliffhanger, a paranormal cliffhanger with yours truly, Rob McConnell, and my good friend and guest, Maurice Miller from Black Hills Paranormal. Are you a skeptic or are you a believer? Either way, send me an email. Hold on here. I'm talking to my audience. If you're a skeptic or a believer, send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. See how enthusiastic this guy is? This is what we need more of in the world of the paranormal, are enthusiastic investigators who go the extra mile to prove or disprove claims of the paranormal. You're listening to us on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM here in St. Catharines, streaming us at classic1220.ca.
The bright southern cross. In the cool of the evening when everything is getting kind of groovy, I call you up and ask you if you'd like to go with me and see a movie. First you say no, you got some plans for the night, and then you stop and say, alright, love is kinda crazy with a spooky little girl like you.
I know a girl by the name of Spooky. That's because nobody had a ghost of a chance with her. Boom, boom, tsh. Mo Miller is our special guest, and his website is bhparanormal.com. And Mo, before we went to the break, you started to tell us something, and we had to do a bit of a paranormal cliffhanger here. So please continue.
Right. Yeah, and you were asking about do we do research on
Yeah.
places? In this house, it was crazy. We went to the Register of Deeds and we did some research. The house was moved here,
Ah,
but and at the it was crazy the stuff that we found out. Uh, they subbed it because where this house is, it's on the west side of town. It's packed into a neighborhood, obviously.
right.
But when they moved this house here, there wasn't a neighborhood. And what they ended up doing is these people ended up having orchards, and then they split it up between their children after
Yeah.
years and years went by. But one of the EVPs we captured was a language we did not understand, and we had Mr. Ernie Lapointe listen to it. Ernie Lapointe is the grandson of Sitting Bull, because it sounded a little native, and it was Nakota, not Lakota. Nakota with an N, and that's from North Dakota. And apparently, this entity or whatever was saying, "What do you mean?" Because we were walking in, it's like, "Hey, I'm Mo, I'm Mark, or whatever." Anyway, come to find out, the land that place was on is apparently they gathered up this Indian or native, whatever we want to call it, and there was, I bet probably not 3 or 4 miles away, there was an internment camp for Native Americans there, which was really, really cool. I mean, not for the native people,
Sure.
but it was neat to learn. Yeah.
Okay, so how did you conduct the investigation inside the house once you and your team decided, hey, we heard the footsteps?
Well, yeah. Well, okay. Now, are we talking about the house the years ago, or the one we just did?
Well, the one with the 90-some-odd
Yeah.
year old lady who, and if my memory serves me correct.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a recent one.
Okay.
Uh, Now we heard the footsteps. We went in, and we're doing a reveal next week. After next Tuesday is when we're going to schedule a reveal for the lady, because we got a few things, and we've got whispers. And one of the claims was that she says, like, she tries to go to sleep and she hears somebody calling her name. We've got whispers. They weren't calling her name, but they were saying, I can't remember exactly what they were saying. They were saying something to the effect of they want to get out of there or whatever.
So it seems like the spirits are trapped. And does that happen often where you get a spirit who for some reason cannot leave the area that they are being bound to and that they're haunting?
I think that happens once in a while. I think when because people, of course, they eventually you pass on,
Yeah.
but you're afraid to go anywhere because of what you're afraid of what might happen. Where you're going to get sent, so to speak.
Well, as long as you're not picked up by President Trump and ICE, you're not going to go to El
Right.
Salvador or Rwanda or any other place like that.
Right.
So, when you have your reveal, I'm sure during the time you did the investigation, the on-site investigation, and you used the different equipment that you use, as well as the
Right.
getting the EVPs. How long does it take you to analyze the data that you have collected? Because I know that scrutinizing and listening to audio is a daunting task at the best of times.
It is. And I tell you what, for all the listeners out there, I don't care how awake you think you may be, white noise is the best sleep aid ever.
Exactly. Yep, I agree with you 100%.
But we normally, usually within 2 weeks, we try. We'll try to get back to the people, because obviously we're investigating and they want to know what's going on too.
Certainly.
So it's not, we don't put them off for like 6 months, a year out, or whatever.
So, what is
Well,
the conclusion of that case? I forgot to ask you one important question. This residence that was moved from point A where it is now, were there any battles around that area?
no,
No, eh?
actually, in Rapid City, we had a flood back in '72. This last century,
Right.
1972. But no, there's never been any like big battles out here. The
Okay.
closest one was Slim Buttes, which is like an hour or two north of us,
All right.
and
So we
that was in retribution to the Battle of the Greasy Grass, Custer's last stand.
now did this lady just start having these encounters with the footsteps, or
Uh,
has
she she's had it for about a year, and
okay?
she has nurses that come to her house and stuff, and she was telling them, and they were like, well, there isn't anything we can do. And
Yeah.
so she finally reached out to us, or her daughter did, and then we talked to her daughter, and then we met the gal that owns the place.
Is it not strange that the place was moved from one location to where it is now, and after all these years, this is the first time within the last year that she has encountered this paranormal activity. Has anybody died that she is aware of that she is close to, a member of her family, within the time frame when these paranormal experiences started?
No, but
Hmm.
the funny thing you should bring up, because before the place was where it's at now,
Yeah.
uh, there's been two or three deaths that she knew of, that she
Ah.
was aware of, and usually, if you're hanging around, there's got to be a reason, obviously,
Yeah.
why you're hanging around, and usually it happens when people are like renovating, like you're destroying, like you're taking a wall down or
Right.
something, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden activity amps up because whatever is there is used to, what used to be,
Right.
and now you're trying to change it and whatnot, and a lot of times the spirits don't like that.
So, was there renovations, or what, in your opinion, was it the moving of the house from point A to where it is now that is responsible for the
I
paranormal experience?
I think that yeah, I think that's what's caused it. To be honest with you, uh, and we did a little. There was a person there,
Hmm.
or not there. Well, like a spirit, so to speak.
Okay.
And we helped it. We said, we told it to go to the light and stuff. And I got a picture in my mind of some gentleman in a gray suit with dark hair, and he was waving, and he was walking into the light. So I don't know. I don't know if that was just me being weird, or if I actually saw something.
Let me ask you this, Mo. What are some of the most haunted locations that you've investigated in the Black Hills area? I mean, besides this lady's house.
Uh, the house on the west side that had everything that you could possibly imagine paranormal. We saw stuff flying off the shelves. We saw
Wow.
shadow figures there. There in the Adams house in Deadwood, the mansion, because that always gives us something to go by. Like it'll set our equipment off or whatnot. And we've done that place many times. Uh, and there is a place in Galena. That's another little town outside of Deadwood. That's there's like five houses there now, but it used to be a regular township. Uh, they had a house there that we investigated that was crazy. Uh, and we're going back in there this weekend. The Broken Boot Gold Mine. Uh, that was crazy because I'm sure you've heard of a Tommy Knocker.
Yes. But explain it.
And
Explain it
we
to
were
our
in,
audience.
Okay, what a Tommy knocker is, Tommy knockers hang out in mines apparently, and what they do is they try to warn you if something bad is happening. Okay, and this mine hasn't been active for years, so and they call us in to
Hmm.
investigate, and we go in and it's pitch black. You can't see your hand in front of your face, but we have a hammer and we're knocking on the wall, and we're saying, "Hey, we need another hammer. Can you help us?" And we quit knocking, and I'll be John Brown. There, so from way down the entryway into the mine, we hear somebody with a hammer knocking, and then in the exit tunnel, because there's a couple tunnels, one goes in and one goes out.
Mm-hmm.
In the exit tunnel, it's not a straight line; it kind of zigzags. And I was up at the front by the actual exit of to leave the mine, and Mark, who isn't on the team anymore, was way in the back, and we saw a blue light, and I started walking towards the blue light, and so did Mark, and we met about midway, and each of us thought it was one of the other guys with a blue lens flashlight, but no, and we couldn't figure it out.
Why do you think that? You were saying that there was one location that you went to many times because of all the activity that is there.
Right.
Why would these spirits remain if people keep on interrupting their home? Why
Well,
don't?
see, like at the Adams house, and we do a thing with Deadwood history.
Okay.
Every October, we investigate the Adams house, and they invite people in. So we take people through, and they're investigating just like we are. They've never investigated before, so we'll hand out our equipment. So if anything alarms, they're witnessing it just like we are.
I see. So,
But
hmm
with that, with the multitudes of people, sometimes a person might have a bad mojo or whatever you
yeah,
want to call it, or a good mojo, and it jumps off at the Adams and says, "Hey, I like this place."
and stays there.
Right. And I think a lot of the stuff that we capture is from other people, because we've been doing that for 11 years now, I think.
At that same location.
Mm-hmm.
Mo,
We
stand,
October.
Mo, stand by. I've got to take my break at the bottom of the hour. Fascinating stories this hour with my good friend Maurice Miller from Black Hills Paranormal. The website is bhparanormal.com. And Mo and I will be back talking more about the paranormal, things that go bump in the night, and how to differentiate by yourself fact from fiction when it comes to the paranormal. www.bhparanormal.com. And we'll both be back on the other side of this break as we continue from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, www.xzbn.net, and on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, streaming us at www.classic1220.ca.
I call you up and ask you if you like to go with me and when I see the sign that points one way, the lot we used to pass by every day. Just walk away, Renee. You won't see me follow you back home. The empty sidewalks on that block are not the same. You're not to blame.
Welcome back, everyone. Maurice Miller is my special guest, and he is with Black Hills Paranormal. Their website is bhparanormal.com. What kind of equipment do you use when you go on an investigation?
Okay. Oh my gosh, we have got so much. We just got a new toy also. It's called a dead bell, and I'll explain that in a moment. But we have SLS cameras, we have FLIRs, we have EMF detectors. Oh my gosh, we have Flux 2 devices, uh, digital dowsing rods, which are really cool because they're digital, so they light up at night, so you
Mm-hmm.
can see them. They're really cool. And we have things called periscopes, and they operate, instead of EMFs, they operate on the triboelectric field. It's like static, and it's hard to picture, but if you picture like a little unit sits on the floor, and it has a whole bunch of little clear wands, and the wands light up different colors. So if something comes with a different static charge, you can it.
Mo, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. It kind of got very quiet there, and I didn't know if we were having tech issues or not. Um, have you ever experienced physical interaction like being touched or scratched during an investigation?
Yes. Way back, that house that had the Dakota indent in it,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was the people had a fire in the house. The house itself, structurally it was sound, but the inside had been gutted. So they pulled out, they pulled the drywall and all that stuff. We were upstairs in a bedroom, and one of the stories that clients told was the people that originally owned it. The husband was a wife beater, right?
Ooh.
And so I was upstairs all by me and Mark.
Hmm.
We're upstairs, and I said, "Hey, if you're picking on a girl that's kind of yellow, pick on me, and I'll be John Brown." I got slapped on the forehead, and all you heard was footsteps, and that was Mark running down the hall because he was going for the stairs
Oh,
because
jeez.
he was getting the heck out of Dodge.
Um,
And also, and then we were at the Lead Opera House just a few years ago, and way down in the basement there was a pool because it used to be like a big aquatic center, gym, gymnasium, and stuff for the people that worked at Homestake Mine. The pool has been since it's just a basement now, and there's a corrugated tin where you know over the top of the pool now, so you can walk on it. And from the shallow end of the pool, a rock came down. So I was looking up at the ceiling, and it was corrugated tin, and I was like, well, it couldn't be that. So I said, hey, if you're up there, you want to have a rock fight? So I found like a little pebble kind of thing, and I chucked it up there. And then lo and behold, a bigger one came down at me.
jeez.
So I pull on my hoodie like that's really going to help, right?
Yeah. Well, depends what the
But
hoodie's made of. Yeah.
right, and then we had a FLIR, a forward-looking infrared radar camera, and we saw a blue figure way in the shallow end, and it walked through a wall. So I'm thinking that's probably what threw the rock at me. I don't know.
That is a good suspect, as far as I can
Right,
see.
right.
Okay, here's a question that I love asking our guests when they come on. What was the most frightening or inexplicable moment you've encountered in the field so far?
So far, we saw here on 8th Street, which doesn't mean anything to you guys or listeners. Uh, me and Danny Joe, the psychic on the team, it was just her and I. We're investigating this house on 8th Street.
Hmm.
Uh, there's a shadow figure that we actually got on camera in a corner. But when you'd go over to the corner, you'd stand there before we knew there was a shadow figure there, and we couldn't figure out why. We'd take a picture, and you'd see the corner, but you wouldn't see us. It was really, really weird. And it had me kind of freaked out a little bit. Then we saw the shadow figure in the corner, and we're like, oh my God, you know.
How many?
But
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, we handled it just fine. But at first it was very startling.
Can you share one of your most compelling cases or pieces of evidence that you have collected?
One of the coolest ones was it was just a couple years ago. We were investigating a house in outside of Rapid City.
Okay.
Uh, anyway, we were all in the back of the house, and we heard this big boom. And so we came forward to into the living room and the kitchen and stuff, and every cupboard and whatnot was open, and the drawers were all open, and we're like, what the heck would cause this? And at the same time, we got an EVP, and it was an old lady, and it said, "I love you," right? And of course, we didn't hear that until we went home and did our due diligence listening to it. But we did the reveal for the lady and her daughter, and they were crying after we played that EVP for them because that was their grandmother.
Oh, my Lord.
Subsequently, the night we investigated was Grandma's birthday, and Grandma used to live there. So I'm thinking that was probably Grandma telling us, "Hey, I'm still here. I'm still around."
I've noticed that there's a lot of paranormal activity that is usually centered at when there's a two-story house in the upstairs bedroom. Any explanation on why?
No, I don't, and that's kind of funny. And people, I'm getting off on a little bit of a tangent, but just because like you live in an old house doesn't mean that you have spirits. Like, you know, you might be a creepy old house, and you're like, and it looks creepy. That's cool and all, but there might not be anything happening. Conversely, we have been in brand new homes, like constructed like 2 years ago, and all kinds of activity is happening. So I don't know why it's prevalent. I know what you're saying because we've had people tell us that too. Oh, it's concentrated in the bedroom and
Yeah.
whatnot. Uh, I don't know why.
How about poltergeist? Are poltergeists associated with other paranormal activity? Because I understand that poltergeist is usually caused by a younger person, a young man or a young lady that's going into puberty. And I was wondering if you share that opinion.
Yes, I do. And I really don't have a basis for it, but every time we've come across this stuff, like somebody says, "Oh, I've got a poltergeist," or they think they do, and there's usually a pre-adolescent teen that lives at the house.
Yeah.
And and of course, we know when you're going through puberty, your hormones and all kinds of things are out of whack and doing all kinds of weird stuff. So there's no telling what kind of energy you're giving off.
Do you think there'll ever become a time in the not too distant future where we will start having a better understanding of the paranormal?
I think so. As a matter of fact, I just read, was it yesterday? It was on one of my news feeds at work on a computer, but they they were studying some mice, and they found out that mice, just like us, like humans, we give off a very very faint glow. When you die, the glow stops. But now, if you're like me, that glow, it's like energy. So where does it go? Does it go to the cosmos? Does it stay in a little ball? We don't know for sure. But things that shamans have said, millennia ago, are starting to come to fruition. Insofar as science is starting to discover some of this stuff.
I find it very fascinating and interesting that Native Americans and other indigenous people around the world have a far greater knowledge of the paranormal than we Caucasians. And I think that when it comes to the passing of stories from one generation to the next, this is something that we have lost. But thankfully, the indigenous people and the Native Americans and Canadians still value this tradition. Do you think that the information that is held within the indigenous and the Native American Canadian folklore should be taken much more seriously?
I think so sometimes, because sometimes obviously somebody's drunk or whatever,
Yeah.
and they're just spouting off stuff. But uh, especially the elders, you need to listen to them because I think even though some of the stuff like we write it off, like Caucasian people write it off as like, oh, that's just a story, but somewhere way in the distant past there was a little bit of truth in there
Yeah.
somewhere. And you've got to, for a lack of better terms, you got to separate the fly shit from the pepper
Hmm.
to figure it out.
Yeah,
And funny we should bring that up. Uh, One of the people that are helping us is Pine Ridge Native American. He grew up down on Pine Ridge. That's one of the reservations out here. Uh, and he's got 3 or 4 stories. I'm gonna press him really hard tomorrow before we start the investigation at the stamp mill. But he was talking about wendigos, like skinwalkers, on Pine Ridge, and that'd be kind of cool to see.
it sure
Or
would.
at least hear.
It sure would be very interesting. We've got about half a minute before I go to my commercial break here for our final break. Is the paranormal really paranormal, or is it really the normality that we just don't get yet?
I think if you look back, I'm talking hundreds and thousands of years. I think that the stuff that I'm looking for, or actively involved in, is things that people, 500-600 years ago believed in wholeheartedly, and they didn't think twice about it. There was no such thing as a paranormal investigative group because stuff just happened,
Yeah.
and they were okay with it. And I think what happens now is people, because we're indoctrinated at a very young age, like, oh, it's all in your head, you're making it up. And so when stuff does happen, people don't know where to turn.
Stand by. I've got to take my final break. Exo Nation, my guest this hour is my good friend, the one and only Maurice Miller from Black Hills Paranormal in South Dakota. If you'd like to find out more about Maurice and what his group does, visit their website, bhparanormal.com. And we'll be back on the other side of the short break as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, and your hometown radio, classic1220.ca. And welcome back, everyone. Maurice Miller is our special guest. His website is bhparanormal.com. First of all, thanks very much for joining us. Always a great pleasure talking to you, my friend. And can you explain to our audience how EVPs work?
Okay, EVP is basically, it's what EVP stands for is electronic voice phenomenon. You pick that up on a recorder. There's a difference between EVPs and a disembodied voice. A disembodied voice you actually physically hear, okay? EVPs, you don't hear them until you're listening back to your recorder. And it might say, my butt itches or whatever. I don't,
Wait a
depends.
sec. My butt itches?
I was just using that as an example. I've never heard that.
I've got to figure out why you use that analogy. That reminds me of a joke. Two ghosts sitting in a room, and one says, "How you feeling today?" He says, "I don't know. My butt itches, though." Okay, so go on. I'm sorry. I went on the tangent there.
So did I. Yeah, and I got caught up in that. Oh yeah, you're okay. The EVPs.
Yes.
Okay, so like I said, a disembodied voice is like you hear physically. You actually hear it. It's just like if you're in an empty room and all of a sudden you heard, "Hey, Rob," that would be a disembodied voice.
Either that or my wife.
Right.
Okay.
But like for instance, like you're in an empty room. there's a recorder in the room with you,
Right.
right? And all of a sudden you hear, or you don't hear it, but hey, Rob, you won't hear it except the audio will pick it up, and you'll hear it later on when you listen back to all your audio.
Is it that re, that the ghost or spirit's audio frequency is so high that we cannot hear it as they talk?
Yeah, it's kind of like the dog whistle kind of thing, because animals can hear it, but we can't.
Right.
I don't know why. And there's been times where we've had two recorders, let's say, like in a room, like a living room. Like it's not, it's like 10 by 10 or 15 by 15. It's not huge, right? And
Okay.
one recorder will pick up an EVP and the other one won't. It's like
That's
whatever's
strange.
out there is partial to one or the other kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Now, do you have both analog or and digital?
We I used to have analog recorders.
Hmm.
I don't anymore, just because they're so hard, like the tapes and stuff to
Right.
get.
Yeah.
And so all the things I have now are digital. And I have, like, for instance, 7 recorders. So if we're investigating for 8 hours, 8 times 7 is 56. So like if I put them all out, that's 56 hours of real time audio that I have to listen
Oh my
to
gosh.
once we get back to home or wherever.
Hmm. Do you believe spirits are always tied to tragic events, or can they also be from positive memories as well?
I think both. I think some things are tragic. They don't know they don't know they've passed on. But also like happy things, like, oh, somebody was sick or whatnot, but they're coming back to visit, like, their relatives, or or places that they found really cool.
Mhm. So that's why you were talking about someone seeing their grandmother.
Right, and
Yeah.
that's also called a crisis apparition too. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but, like, let's say, like, my mom's been gone for years, but let's say she just passed on,
Hmm.
and when she passed on, like, at that moment, I see it. I like, I'm 3 or 4 states away, and I see her standing at the edge of my bed, and I'm like, what the heck is all that about? And then, of course, I jump up and call, and hey, is everything okay? And they said, oh, your mom's passed on.
Yeah, I've heard many cases like that, and that is
Yeah.
truly amazing. But is that actually part of the paranormal, or is that a psychic phenomena that we haven't yet discovered? And a lot of research is being done at various universities, unless President Trump has cut their funding,
Right.
where they're looking into extrasensory perception and the fact that life, as far as the spirit or our essence, still lives on, and it's this communication that is actually sent to the recipient, which means, like, holy cow, we haven't even scratched the surface of our own psyche.
No, we haven't.
Yeah. How do you protect yourself and your team from any potential negative energies or entities that you may run into?
When we go into a place to
Hmm.
investigate, we don't have any protection. When we get done, though, we do. We do a little ceremony. When we affectionately call it a smoke down, but we
Hmm.
take Palo Santo, and we smudge each individual member of the team. And the reason I do that is because when if you're protected, and you know, let me try to say that again. If you're protected, when you go in, you might not get as much as you normally would, if that makes any sense.
It does, and we're coming up to the summer months. A lot of yard sales, a lot of flea markets, antique shops
Right.
opening up. I would
Right.
imagine people need to be very careful about the merchandise that they bring home, that they don't know that there might be an attachment to that purchase they just made. So what can people do to avoid any unnecessary issues with a ticked off spirit?
I would say if you went to an antique store and you bought something just to be safe, you know, say do a sage ceremony on it or a Palo Santo stick or what have you to get rid of any energy that it has. Because it might have, somebody might have like that's my favorite mirror. So
Yeah.
they're hanging out with the mirror all the time. And we don't want them. We don't want them there.
But wouldn't it be rather hard for someone who's at a flea market to actually find somebody at the flea market who's able to clear any
Right.
negativity before they take it home?
Right. No, I'm saying after they get it home.
Oh, after they get it home. Okay, that makes a lot of
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
before they hang it up or put it where it's going to live permanently.
Gotcha. Got you. What's your view on the idea of helping spirits move on? Is that part of your mission, or is that something you do because you feel it's the right thing to do and you actually want to make a positive difference?
Well, for years we were diehard skeptics, and so when stuff did happen, we would just be scratching our heads like, "Wow, that was incredible."
Yeah.
And since Danny Joe, the psychic on the team, she's been on the team 5 years now, I think. Uh, she's slowly gotten us to the point where if there is a spirit there and and she makes a determination like I, for lack of better terms, a deliverance or whatever,
Hmm.
to have it move on. We'll we help in any way we can. But
You-
sometimes you have stubborn spirits that don't want to move on, and they're not in a place where they're supposed to be anyway. They just don't want to move on. They just want to cause havoc and all kinds of scare people
Sure.
and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Let me ask you, Mo, do you ever get pushback from property owners, skeptics, or religious organizations?
From religious ones, not so much because we don't deal with them very
Okay.
much. But once in a great while, they'll call us necromancers and stuff because we
gosh.
talk to spirits.
Huh.
And what it just comes with the territory. And some of the people on the team, their parents, of course, the parents are older, but they're like they look at us with a little bit of disdain. They're like, you guys are really messing around with things you shouldn't be messing with.
Yeah, the old way of thinking.
Right.
Let me see here. One more question. Has the local community in South Dakota responded to your work?
Oh yeah, yeah. What we've got. Oh my gosh, I think we've got almost 4,000 followers on our
Wow.
Facebook page.
Good for you.
Just local
for you.
people. Yeah. And which is really cool but I have to put this out there. We don't knock on doors because you have a creepy house or a business. It looks creepy. We want to come in. We don't do that. We let people call us first, if that makes any sense.
It makes a lot of
Because-
sense, and that's
Right.
the way that I respect.
Right. And I think because we do it that way, I
Mm-hmm.
think that more people are apt to believe what we're doing.
Wow. Well, Mo, as always, whenever you're with us, time goes by so fast. I want to thank you for coming on the show. I always look
thanks.
forward to having you back on, and please give my very best to the rest of your team. And I look forward to the next time that you join us here in the X Zone. So for now, a huge thank you to Maurice Miller of Black Hills Paranormal Investigations for sharing his encounters, evidence, and insights into the other side. Now, if you'd like to learn more, request an investigation, or see some of the team's chilling case files, head over to www.bhparanormal.com. That's bhparanormal.com. From flickering shadows in old buildings to voices caught on tape in the dead of night, one thing's for sure: Black Hills holds more than just natural beauty. They hold secrets. Stay curious, stay safe, and always keep your dial tuned into and for the unknown. Take care of yourself, Mo. All the
All right,
best.
you too.
And stay out of trouble, huh?
I will try. I will try. And then the next time, next time you guys have me on, if there is a next time,
Of course there's going to be a next time. Come on.
but I will tell you about this stuff this weekend that we're doing, all the different places we're doing.
I'd love to hear it. And I'm
with
sure our
Marie
listeners
Miller.
would too.
Yes.
Take care of yourself, Mo.
All right, you do the same.
Bye-bye, my friend.
All right.
And
Talk
Exxon
to you
Nation,
later.
you bet. And that's it for tonight, Exxon Nation. What a great show we've had. If you have any questions, comments, or you would just like to say hi, the email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. You're listening to us on the Xzone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and of course, our good friends at your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming us at classic1220.ca. So whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me tomorrow night at 10 as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. But for now, always remember to keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.